next to me.
Hey guys, it is Allison. So today I'm back with another faith-related video for you guys. I was initially going to take a break since I did do a month-long Bible study in July, and I was like, no, maybe I should just take a break and then just wait until September and then start back my faith-related videos. But then I was just like, I kind of got like a high from like doing my Bible studies for all of July, and I was like, why not just continue and just kind of start back up my faith-related videos, since I've kind of taken a break before I started my Bible study. So I feel like now I'm just kind of excited again and like really excited to do these videos again. So I hope you guys are excited that I'm starting this back up again. And today's video, I'm basically going to be showing you guys how I set up my prayer journal. You probably have seen this in a lot of videos because I just mention it all the time. This is literally my everything journal, if I'm being honest. So this is just the journal I go to for Bible studies, for prayers, and that's probably not the best thing. But I'm just kind of waiting until I finish this, that I can kind of have like a designated Bible study journal and then a designated prayer journal. But for now, I'm just going to put all of them together in this journal. This one I think I got from Meijer. It was like $6.99, like $7, and it just says today is going to be a great day, which is always a great reminder. And so I just really like the pages in it. It's kind of like old school kind of paper, which I really love. And so today I'm just basically showing you guys how I'm setting up my prayer journal and really what I kind of have in my prayer journal and ways that, you know, I kind of maintain it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you guys like it. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell notification down below to be notified every time I upload a video. I post Wednesdays and Saturdays lifestyle, beauty, fashion, these types of videos, faith-related videos, and vlogs, and just all that stuff. So if you guys like those types of videos, and don't forget to subscribe, and I think we can just jump into this faith-related video. I'm actually first going to go into really why I have a prayer journal. I feel like that's a great way to start off this video. For me, I think there's something intimate about just writing your thoughts, and I've noticed even if it's not a prayer that I'm, you know, doing, sometimes it's therapeutic to just write things down. And so for me, sometimes if I don't have something to pray about, I just kind of like free write. I just kind of write whatever I'm feeling, because sometimes it's easier for me to just write down what I'm feeling rather than just, you know, saying it out loud. Like even the times where I do have quiet times and I kind of, you know, talk to God, sometimes it's hard for me to, you know, verbalize what I'm saying. And so for me, sometimes the best way that I can get my words out and really talk about my feelings, I can just write it out, and it makes more sense, and I feel like I'm really talking from the heart when I really write things out. And so there's something intimate about that, and so I think that's one of the main ways why I keep a prayer journal. Another reason being that sometimes when I'm praying about something, especially someone, there's something about recording it and then being able to see it later, see all of the prayers that you've had, and kind of seeing where God has answered your prayers. That's the best feeling in the world, because sometimes we can feel like we're constantly praying and then God is not really answering those prayers. So it's a clear reminder that God does. And, you know, I think I've seen in a lot of the prayers that I've had that God answered prayers. And so I think that's one of the main reasons why I also have a prayer journal. There's obviously more, but those are just some of the reasons why I like to keep a prayer journal. And so now I'm just going to go into some of the ways that I set it up and all that. The first one being that I like to write down my gratitude and have it be a gratitude journal as well, where I kind of write down all my blessings, because I feel like in this world sometimes you feel like we're just constantly not getting what we want, and sometimes you feel like, you know, there's just so many hardships that we go through, and sometimes we don't realize the good things that God has blessed us with. Just recently, if I can think of a blessing at the top of my head, my niece was born a couple days ago, and that's also one of the reasons why I'm just so happy, and just, I guess, why this week has been a really good week so far. And so for me, that was one of my blessings this week. And obviously there's so many more that doesn't have to be, you know, on that great of a scale, and just maybe being able to breathe and being able to wake up every single day. Something that I'm also really grateful for is you guys, and being able to be healthy and not, I'm a pretty healthy person, and so that's something I'm really grateful for. So I think it's always important to count your blessings, because that's equally as important, and I think that's one of the ways that I really like to incorporate in my prayer journal. Every single day I write down at least 5 things that I'm grateful for, and that's one of the ways that I kind of document, again, the things that I'm grateful for, because I think it's so easy to be wrapped up in this world and to be able to forget what you're grateful for, and so I think that's super important. The second thing is to just make a list of, the worries that you have, the fears that you have, things that you have anxiety over. I feel like I constantly have anxiety, and I guess it's just me overthinking, because I'm very much of a type A person. I like to know what things are, and if something doesn't really go my way, it doesn't really get me upset. It just makes me a little bit more anxious, and it just kind of was like, but life is life. But so I feel like it's important to just write it all down, because sometimes when you are constantly thinking about all these things that you're anxious about, sometimes the best way to kind of deal with it is just to write it down. And so I write a list of all the things that I'm anxious about, and even when I pray, sometimes I talk about it with God. I'm like, you know what, I'm anxious about this thing, or I'm nervous about this thing, all this stuff. And so I think it's important to always write down a list of the things that you're anxious about. I think that even the beginning of the day, sometimes I'm anxious about, the things that are happening later on, and so it's so important for me to write these things down during my quiet time, so that I don't have to be super anxious about it, because I've written it down and I've kind of dealt with it in some way, so that I don't have to constantly be worrying about that thing later on. And so I think this is super important, because we all go through things, and sometimes we are always overthinking. So I feel like the best way to kind of deal with those things and those feelings is to just write them down. The third thing is to pick a person once a day to write about. And so that's super important, because for me, I pray a lot about, things, obviously, and I've noticed the last couple of months I haven't really been praying about, a person, and sometimes I guess it always hits me when, there's someone actively that I need to pray about. And so for me, sometimes I forget that, there's other people I should be praying about. And so, as much as my prayers and the, things happening in my life are important, obviously everyone, around me, their lives are equally as important. I should also be praying about them. So I think that sometimes for me, I forget, everything going on in my life. It's sometimes hard to think about other people, and so for me, I'm really conscious about it now to pick a person once a day to be able to write about them and to pray for them, because everyone's obviously struggling on their own journey. And so I feel like sometimes prayers can be answered when other people are praying for you. The next one is to free write a prayer about anything that you can think of. This is something that I kind of reiterated in the beginning of the video, kind of why I use a prayer journal. And for me, sometimes the best prayers can just come out of free writing and just kind of talking through what you're feeling. That sometimes has the biggest power in the world. And so for me, there were times where I just was anxious and felt like this sense of confusion and felt lost in some ways. And I think I'm slowly starting to kind of get back on track again and kind of see where my purpose is. And that's something that was eating away at me for, I would say, a good chunk of my freshman year, and felt just defeated in some areas. And so for me, it was so important for me to write what I was feeling, because sometimes it's hard to pray about things when you don't really know where your head's at and kind of how you're feeling. And so I think it was important for me to be able to free write things and not feel constricted to something. And I think sometimes when I began to write without really much of a structure, I kind of found myself understanding maybe where my prayer could be. And so that was how I ended my journaling. Was I finally figured out like what I needed to pray about. And so sometimes having not much of a structure in your prayer can sometimes lead to what you ultimately want to pray about and want to ask God about. And so sometimes, things don't always have to be planned out in that sense. And so I think those are the types of ways that I like to incorporate a prayer is sometimes when there's not really a boundary and you can just kind of write what you're feeling, and sometimes the best prayers come out of those. The last thing is record answered prayers. I think sometimes you forget this, that like we're so busy about, asking God for something and praying about something, and sometimes you forget to record, the prayers that he's answered. And so I think that's super important that you leave a space after you make your prayer, leave a space for when God answers this or whatever. Just be able to record that, because you never know when it'll happen, and I feel like it sometimes happens when it's least expected. And so just remember to record those, because that's, I think, one of the best parts about keeping your prayer journal and a journal in general is to be able to look back on these things. I'd love to look back years later about, something that I prayed about and being able to see that God totally answered it. And even I think creating my faith-related videos, being able to do these types of videos, this was something that I've always wanted to do and felt like now is the time to do it, and felt like I had to hold back a little bit, or maybe there was just anxiety over it, that I was like, this is probably not going to help me grow, or this is just going to be something that will, be a failure for me, and, something I'll fail at. But then God just answered my prayers and gave me a peace about it, because I never want to do something that God hasn't put on my heart to do. But there was a reason why I gravitated towards people doing faith-related videos and just feeling so enamored by those types of videos and feeling like I could do it as well. And so I really prayed to God about it and felt a peace about it. And so that's when I knew that God truly answered my prayers and he wanted me to do this. And so I recorded that, and that's one of just the many reasons and the many ways that God has answered my prayers. And I think it's so important to do that, because again, I can make a prayer now and 5 years later I can see all the prayers that he's answered in my life. And I think that sometimes we forget that he has answered prayers because we so focus on just praying to God about something, and then feeling like it's never going to be answered, and then seeing it being answered years later is insane. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give this video a thumbs up again if you guys liked it. Let me know in the comments down below some of the ways that you like to set up a prayer journal and what you keep in your prayer journal. And hopefully, if this video helps you, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know. And maybe even like DM me on Instagram of like your prayer journal, like how you're not exactly like what you're writing down, but kind of like an example of how you're using your prayer journal. So I'd love to see that, and I guess I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Give this video a thumbs up again if you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell notification down below to be notified every time I upload a video, and I will talk to you guys in my next one. God bless and have an awesome day. Bye guys.